No Derek Carr, no Chris Olave, no Rashid Shaheed, no Ryan Ramchick, who is going to miss his entire season and has not played a single snap this season because he's still dealing with a knee issue, and no Eric McCoy. You knew that this team was going to lose in bad fashion to the Denver Broncos, but how bad would it be? Well, it was pretty bad. Spencer Rattler should have not been put in this situation. I'm not saying that Spencer Rattler is going to go out there and not be the franchise quarterback moving forward. He still can be the guy. This was just his second career game on a short week. He just played Sunday against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He threw 3 interceptions. He threw a pick 6 today. The kid is overwhelmed. Bad offensive line, not enough weapons. Like I mentioned before, the entire receiving core is decimated. When you have Cedric Wilson Jr. and you have Bub Memes as your number 1 and number 2 wide receivers, you're not going to be in a good situation. And it really sucks that a guy like Rashid Shaheed is going to miss the rest of this season because he's been one of the best deep threats in the NFL over the last couple of years. Their last 5 games, they are 0-5. They started out 2-0, and I understand that injuries are a huge part of this thing. With that being said, if you're a Saints fan, you know where I'm about to go with this. Dennis Allen should still be fired. He has been a terrible head coach. I understand that injuries suck. Over the last couple of years, I've been saying this even when they first hired him. I was questioning this move. He is not a good head coach in the NFL. He's a defensive coach at best. You look at what happened last week against Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The man had 50 put on his neck. Poor tackling, zone coverage when it makes 0 sense. You should be running more man coverage. And I understand that Paulson Adebo went out in today's game. He's been one of those cornerbacks that you look at, very good with pass deflections, leads the NFL up to this point, has 3 interceptions on the season. He's too inconsistent and he holds too much and gets a lot of pass interference calls as well. He got a pass interference call against the Atlanta Falcons and he got a huge pass interference call a week later after that game as well. He's just not a consistent corner. And part of that is because of the coaching of Dennis Allen. He has his man put into a situation to where he's guarding the fastest wide receiver with the opposing team. Jake should have been the starting quarterback for last week and this week as well. I know that New Orleans Saints fans want to go out there and they want to see what they have in Spencer Rattler. This is not the ideal situation for any quarterback, let alone a rookie. Jake did come in late in the game. He threw for a touchdown. I will say this, the Denver Broncos playing a lot of off coverage, but give Jake a lot of credit. The reason why Jake should have went out there and he should have been the starting quarterback last game and for this game is because he has played in the NFL before. It is hard to have a guy in Spencer Rattler to come in. He's a rookie. No help at the wide receiving position. No help from the run game to go against one of the best defenses in the NFL with the Denver Broncos. And I'm not trying to make excuses for Spencer Rattler because he did play terrible in the second half of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game and he played bad today. But Clint Kubiak, bunch of speed outs. Get the football out quick. Spencer Rattler's running for his life. This offense looks terrible because they are hurt. But at the same time, over the last few years, they've had chances to go out there and make the NFL playoffs. And I understand that they dealt with injuries. When you had Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton as your starting quarterback, I do feel for Dennis Allen. But at the same time, you look at what happened last season. Yes, they went 9-8. But look at this situation right here. This team always starts off hot, middle point of the season, they go ice cold. Then the back half, they'll win the next 3 to 4 games. That's not a winning formula long term. And Mickey Loomis has also put this team into a bad situation. You look at the veterans with this team. Yes, you have guys like the Mario Davis and Tyrann Mathieu, very good football players. And I've said this over the last couple of videos about the Saints. I'm going to continue to push this point home. Cameron Jordan, I understand, great community guy, great locker room guy to have around. It's over with. He's not a good defensive end anymore. He can't rush the passer. At best, he's just a run stopper at this point in time in his career. He will go down as one of the best New Orleans Saints pass rushers of all time. But right now, he hasn't been a good football player. And you extended him to a 3-year deal? That's on Mickey Loomis. By going out there and continuing to stick with a guy like Dennis Allen, that's on ownership as well. He has not been a good head coach. And I understand Pete Carmichael, terrible offensive coordinator, who hired Pete Carmichael and let him coach the team over the last couple of years. Dennis Allen, who wanted to bring in Derek Carr. Yes, it was Mickey Loomis, but that is also Dennis Allen's guy as well. And Derek Carr is not a terrible quarterback, but at the same time, Derek Carr's not going to get you over the hump, even if he was fully healthy. We have seen the same song and dance over and over again with Derek Carr in his career with the Raiders. What was the biggest thing that most spectators were saying? If he had a true defense, they would make a deeper playoff run. He comes over to the New Orleans Saints. The defense hasn't been bad. This season, they have not been the same since they won those first 2 games. But you go back to last season, I understand he went out in the Green Bay Packers game dealing with a shoulder injury. The defense showed a lot of good moments, and yet they still cannot make it over the hump because it's always something. Bad offensive play calling, right? Same with Dennis Allen. He had bad offensive play calling with the Raiders. He's not a good head coach. He's a defensive coordinator at best. And the sooner the Saints move off of Dennis Allen, the better. I don't think that they should fire him right now because this season is a wash. You could bring in Clint Kubiak. I could be wrong about that. You can see what you have in him as an interim head coach. But right now, the Saints, they have to go out there and make a lot of decisions over the next couple of years, especially in this offseason. Because you have guys like Cameron Jordan who may retire. A guy like Tyrann Mathieu, he may not be with this team next season. Marshawn Lattimore, he may not be with this team next season. You do have some key stars with the New Orleans Saints that are young. A guy like Carl Granderson led the team in sacks last season. Still a very good defensive end. I still like his game a lot. Brian Bresee has been phenomenal. He's a former first-round pick coming out of Clemson. Can stop the run, can rush the passer. I can't say enough good things about that kid. He's a very good football player. So at least you have him. You have Carl Granderson. You look at the rest of the players on the team as well. Alvin Kamara, he may not be here next year. But you know what you have with Chris Olave. He's a very good wide receiver when he's fully healthy. Rashid Shaheed, it was just a torn meniscus. It wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't a torn ACL or torn MCL. He should be able to come back next season, and he should be able to be the same deep threat that he is right now. You have Foster at the tight end position. I like him a lot as well. And you have Juwan Johnson. But you have a lot of veterans that's making a lot of money right now. And the Saints, they're in a bad situation. But those are just the positives, the few positives. You also have Kendre Miller as well, who I do believe can come in and can give you good snaps when you eventually do move on from Alvin Kamara. They may go into a situation at the halfway point in the season. You may see a couple guys in this roster get shipped off for some draft picks. Because I'm not saying this for sure. We don't know if Spencer Rattler can be the long-term solution at the quarterback spot. They've had a problem with this position since Drew Brees has retired, and now it's expected. Even the later years with Drew Brees and Sean Payton, Drew Brees was still a very good quarterback, but he wasn't the same. The throw power was not the same. He could not push the football deep down the field. So you knew eventually that you would have to go out there and replace the quarterback, Andrew Brees. And in theory, a guy like Derek Carr, you look at him and say, hey, he's not a bad bridge quarterback. But the thing is with Derek Carr, in order for this team to go out there and make the NFL playoffs or to make a deep playoff run and they were fully healthy with this head coach, he had to be regarded as a top 3 to top 5 quarterback and was never going to happen. And I'm not trying to fully blame Derek Carr. I can easily see Derek Carr going back to the Raiders, being their bridge quarterback while they draft a quarterback. But as soon as they move on from Dennis Allen, the Saints will be in a better situation. But this was the worst case scenario. I understand the injuries stacked up with the team, that they're dealing with all types of injuries on the offensive line, the secondary as well, in the wide receiving spot. But let's not get it confused. Dennis Allen is still a horrible head coach. That's the point of this video. As soon as they fire him, the better. And there is a spot for him in the NFL as a defensive consultant, as a defensive coordinator. He was a former defensive line and secondary coach before he became the defensive coordinator for the Saints. So they could possibly do that. But get him out of New Orleans. And Mickey Loomis, you may have to fire him as well because this hasn't worked out. We saw how bad things got with the Raiders and Dennis Allen. It may be even worse with the Saints. And I do understand this as well. He flipped back to playing that zone coverage. And you play more zone when you're thin in the secondary and you're thin in the linebacking spot because you don't want to give up that much yardage. So why is the middle of the field always open? It was open against the Kansas City Chiefs, and their linebackers are hurt in that game. But you had Paulson Debo, Marshawn Lattimore, Kool-Aid McKinstry. You could have still played man coverage. They played zone for the majority of the game. The tackling's been poor. The middle part of the field is always wide open. Every single game at this point. That's when coaching. You can't blame the players for this. And when you look at what happened last week, and those players are giving you 3 interceptions, and you still allow the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to put up 50-plus points. And shout out to the Buccaneers, by the way. Poor tackling, poor assignments, poor adjustments. That's all on Dennis Allen. You can't blame the players for that, even if they are second and third string players. That's on him. And he did the same thing last season as well in the middle point of the season. He reverted from playing that man coverage, went to zone coverage, and the middle of the field was always open, and guys are just missing their assignments. They're not prepared. They're not buttoned up. But let me know in the comment section below, what should the New Orleans Saints do moving forward? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, I want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. God bless. Peace.